I'm reading Gay Hendricks, his book 5 Wishes. This was published in 2008. I have already read the first wish, and I started the second wish, but it's quite a long chapter. His second wish is completing, and I continue. 2 of my incompletions required some detective work on my part, but the rewards were well worth the effort. In 1969, I borrowed $160 from my boss so that I could take the one class I needed to finish my master's degree. I completed my degree and had every intention of paying him back, until, that is, we got into a big conflict. I resigned and took another job in another city. I refused to pay him back, using the justification that he was wrong. I was right, and therefore I didn't owe him anything. He made me angry, therefore I didn't owe him any money. Good thinking, Gay. Justification is one of the clues that hold incompletion in place. In this case, it took me close to 15 years to unglue it, until I made my 12-page list. I had forgotten about the incident entirely. To make my list, I went back through my life, year by year, and that's how I unearthed this debt from my memory. I started looking for my old boss, finally tracking him down a few months later. He had fallen on hard times and was living in a tiny room in a YMCA. I wrote him a long letter explaining the process I was going through and why I had tracked him down. I sent him the money, plus interest, and immediately felt a sense of lightness and energy. He wrote back to tell me how flabbergasted he was to receive the money and how grateful he was. We wished each other well. Next was my search for J. Wallace Hamilton. These were the days before computers and the web. When I did a Google search for Dr. Hamilton recently, it took less than a second and yielded hundreds of pieces of information about him. But almost 30 years ago, the search took many phone calls, letters, and inquiries, but it finally paid off when I made contact with his widow in St. Petersburg, Florida. J. Wallace Hamilton had delivered an inspiring talk at a youth day in the Methodist church I attended in high school. I was in a funk at the time because I couldn't see any way out of the boxes I felt trapped in. Even if I escaped from the sweltering swamplands and rigid prejudices of the South of 1960, would I end up trapped in a white bread suburb with a corporate job, a Betty Crocker's wife, and 2.3 kids? Then I heard Dr. Hamilton's talk, and it felt as though he was speaking directly to me. The messages penetrated to my core. Don't settle for anything less than what you really want. Be wary about accepting offers of safety and security at the expense of your own creative freedom. Once you trade your freedom for the illusion of security, you have a hard time ever getting your freedom back. Follow your heart, and your life will be blessed with unexpected favors. I made a secret pact with myself to follow his advice, and it served me wonderfully throughout the long, quirky, and often painful path to my own career. Now I realized I had never thanked him, and it felt like a huge incompletion. After some searching, I finally found Mrs. Hamilton, Dr. Hamilton's wife. She told me he had died years earlier. As I told her my story, I got to experience the beautiful magic that often accompanies the act of completing significant communications. She told me that when my letter found its way to her, she was feeling depressed, wondering if her life and her husband's had meant anything. The timing of the letter was perfect for her. Not only did I have the great pleasure of telling her how deeply his talk had affected me, I also discovered a treasure trove I had never known about. Dr. Hamilton had written a number of books long out of print, which Mrs. Hamilton offered to send me. Soon I was holding in my hands the collected wisdom of J. Wallace Hamilton, a man whose 20-minute talk had inspired me for life. All these experiences gave me a reverence for the process of completing things. Part of the reverence came from the simple fact that completion feels good. On a daily basis, I began to feel the inner peace that comes from taking care of big incompletions, such as clearing up a long-hold resentment with a friend or family member, as well as the energy lift that comes from taking care of little incompletions, such as making a phone call I've been putting off. Feeling good is great, but there is a power to completion that goes beyond good feeling into the whole of life. What I've come to see is that the act of completing something, no matter how large or how small, puts you into harmony with the universe. If I say to you, I call you today, I have created a new force in the universe, a new agreement about how things will be. If I then make good on my agreement and call you today, I line myself up in harmony with those forces. If I don't call you today, I leave loose ends, an open circuit, an unresolved storyline. By not calling you, I communicate something that affects my life and our relationship. My word is no good, and you are not worth my effort to keep my word. My experience has been that each completion saps my energy and clouds my relationship with the people on the other end. The act of completion restores my energy and clears the air that circulates through my relationships. Further though, each act of completion celebrates our connection to the universe around us. The universe becomes a friendlier place because we are friendlier to it. As I got better and better at completing things, I found the happy surprise of an unexpected reward. My path through the universe became smoother and easier. Daily life became blessed with positive coincidences, both large and small. A long-forgotten loan to a friend was repaid. Parking places appeared. Oprah read one of our books and invited us on her show. Things like these happen with greater and greater frequency as I honed the art of completion. Now, even though I lived for many years on a steady diet of spontaneous, positive events, I celebrate them every day and try never to take them for granted. I think of them as little winks from the universe. When they occur, I give thanks for them and wink back. So I think I said today is the 26th of August, and I hope you have a good Wednesday.